So I have been in Bettendorf, Iowa nearly 10 years, which looking at the time, it surprises even me. And I have seen changes happen ever since I've moved here. And I figured this would be a good opportunity to share some of those changes for you, whether they're good or bad. They have changed and I see things changing ever more, but I think change is a good thing. And I think if you're thinking about moving to Bettendorf, well, I think it's gonna be a good video for you to watch because things are moving and you're gonna want to know what those are. Now, the first one on the list technically isn't really a change, but it is something that is happening. And that is that people genuinely really want to live in Bettendorf. And I have a lot of clients that move here all the time, and the people that move here because they found me on YouTube or wherever, they are usually coming in from out of the area. So they will plan a trip here and just really get a feel for the area. And more times than not, my clients will tell me, hey, we are down the street at a coffee shop and I talked to so-and-so and I talked to them about where people want to live, and more times than not, that conversation either contains or leads to people wanting to live in Bettendorf. And why is that really? Well, it's a whole bunch of different things, but one thing that does come up a lot is the school systems here in Bettendorf. And I do say school systems because there is more than one. We have obviously the Bettendorf school system, which is, you know, what it is. And then we also have the Pleasant Valley school system, which if you're looking on niche.com, it's ranked #1 in the whole state of Iowa. And people find that super important if they're moving to an area that they get into the best schools as possible. And if you're looking at the rankings, well, Pleasant Valley is #1 in the state. So it's a reason that people really want to make that move here, but it's really not the only reason that people want to live in Bettendorf. And I see this changing a little bit, and it's the fact that the people live here seem to genuinely care about your neighbor. And you know, that does feel like it's changing a little bit. You know, it is getting a bigger city. We're sitting at about 40,000 people now, and it feels as you get bigger, the less you might know your neighbor. And after 10 years of being here, we still have that where if you know your neighbor, you're genuinely nice to them, but it's also getting to a point where it's getting big enough to where you may not always know your neighbor. So that is a change that is happening in Bettendorf. There be it is a slow change, but being here 10 years, yeah, I do definitely see that happening as we speak. So it's just something to take note in as a change that happened since I've been here and is happening as we're going through it. Now, the other thing about Bettendorf is that, yes, people genuinely want to live here, and because of that, people genuinely want to invest here. And I'm talking about single families, you know, duplexes, small living quarters, and they want to invest here because in general, for investors and renters, is a good relationship, as in the renters want to be in the city and it's possibly a more affordable way to do it. And also investors see it as a great opportunity because people are coming to them to want to be in the city of Bettendorf, so their vacancy rates are lower and the rents are higher compared to other places in the Quad Cities. But people want to be in Bettendorf, that they're willing to pay a slightly higher price in rent than other places. And it's just a good relationship when it comes to that. Now, does that hold true for every rental? No, it doesn't. You know, I can't put 100% on everything, but in general, it seems that renters, landlords really like to invest into Bettendorf because people want to be here and they're willing to pay a slightly higher rent price to be here. But the people that want to be here are willing to do that because they want to be in this community, and maybe they can't quite afford to buy a house quite yet, but they're willing to put up with the renting for now to eventually purchase a home. And our rent to own statistics are pretty good when it comes to percentages. So yes, we do have opportunities for investors, but a lot of people own their own homes here in Bettendorf. Now, if you're moving to Bettendorf and you're on the side of making that purchase, well, I am here to help. I am a licensed realtor here in Bettendorf, and I would love to earn your business. My number is popping up down below, and the thing about Bettendorf is you really want to know which neighborhood within Bettendorf you should live, and that's where my expertise comes in. So hit me up. My number is popping up down below. I'm the one that answers all those phone calls, emails, and text messages. Now, the next thing on the docket has been the biggest change that I have seen since moving here back in 2015, and that is the developments around the city, and specifically the commercial type developments. And it was really spurred on by two major projects. The first one was in downtown, and the major project was technically the I-74 bridge, which spurred on a lot of growth in downtown and revitalization of downtown Bettendorf. But the major project that happened in the actual downtown was the bridges. It is a building that is apartments, and underneath are businesses and restaurants. And that was the first big thing that sparked a lot of the revitalization in downtown, because it was a proof of concept that people could put a product down there and people are going to flock to it. And the bridges was that first main thing that happened. But not only is the downtown changed a ton since I was here, but up north where the Bettplex is, that has changed dramatically. When I moved here, it was cornfields forever, and now you go up there and you can hardly find a corn stalk anywhere. And that is the Bettplex and everything that is surrounding it. You have hotels, you have restaurants, you have places like the Iron Tea, which is a Topgolf-like facility that has just opened up this year. And many more restaurants and shops are opening up. Seems like just about every single day, and they're on both sides of the road. And it's a huge opportunity for people and developments to move in up there. And that's been the biggest changes with downtown and up north that I have seen since I've lived here, because there was nothing up north, and downtown was not a place that you really wanted to go to and hang out. And now both of those are places that you do really want to go to and hang out. Now, right along with the commercial developments, another big change that has happened in Bettendorf in the last 10 years is the new housing. And the new housing has been kind of exploding in Bettendorf. And the reason I say exploding is when you compare it to the other cities in the Quad Cities, nobody really even compares to the amount of houses that are being built in northern Bettendorf. And not only that, but these houses are kind of on the more luxury side. When I first moved here, if you found $1 million house, you really had something. Now $1 million house, yes, it's still rare, but it's definitely not as rare as it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, and people are building them constantly. In fact, a lot of conversations I have with locals is, where are these people coming from that can afford $1 million house? They're coming from different areas like California, Texas, but they're also coming from locals that have businesses that are working for bigger corporations like John Deere or Alcoa. So there's definitely a strong economy to support that, even though some people may feel like it isn't. But we're also bringing in people from outside that are willing to build brand new houses and build luxury houses. So it's cool to see that development, but not even just the luxury houses. It's been even on the average house side of things, where houses have been being built constantly and consistently, and everything that was a cornfield or a bean field before is now a housing development. So it's cool to see that change, and people are loving it because the houses that are going up generally are pretty well built and are generally pretty spacious as well. So got both of those going on, and it has been a big change since when I first moved here. When I moved here, I was 23 or 24, somewhere around there. And I really noticed in Bettendorf, not a lot of young people wanted to move here. And the biggest reason was it seemed like there was nothing to do. And back then, there really wasn't a lot to do. You know, I lived in an apartment when I first moved here from this place called Governor's. Me and my roommate would go down there. It was $5 pitcher night. It was fun, but it wasn't like a nightlife per se. It was a cool place to go to. $5 nachos, $5 pitchers, we're set to go, but it really wasn't a ton of other things to do. But ever since then, things have slowly been starting to happen. And when I say slowly, I'm meaning like restaurants were getting built, entertainment venues are getting built. And I've already mentioned a few of those, like the Betplex or the Iron T. Those are entertainment venues that have been built just within the last few years. And restaurants like Governor's. Governor's is actually no longer there. They were purchased, the land was sold to make a gas station, but then they built the Tangled Wood. And if you've ever been to the Tanglewood or looked up online, it is a really cool place to go. Yes, they have their restaurant, but if you go out to the outside, they have this venue where they have bands and they have, you know, games, fire pits, all sorts of different things, and it's just a lot of fun to go over there, and it draws in a huge crowd. And if you're ever thinking about going over there for a band or something, make sure you get there early because parking is limited. Do they ever run out of parking? No, because the YMCA just around the corner allows all the people to park there, so there's a big parking lot for them. But it's a cool place, fun place, and it just goes to show that things are happening when it comes to new things going on. And now we have even breweries, which are fun, like 5 cities. So things have been happening. And the cool thing that I've watched over the years is whenever something was built, say like a restaurant, I called it the Bettendorf effect. And the reason I called it the Bettendorf effect is every time somebody opened a restaurant, everybody would go bananas to go to that restaurant, and there was like a line around the corner because there really wasn't a lot of restaurants in the city of Bettendorf, so anything new was a big deal. Now that has subsided a little bit because we do have some restaurants going on, and it's still there because people like new and exciting things, but it wasn't like it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago where you were waiting in line forever when something new came to town. So that has been a big change, and a welcome change at that. Now, a lot of the things I've talked about have been private businesses making these changes, but the city of Bettendorf has also been quietly making changes and helping spur on this growth and opportunity within the city. And one of those things they've been doing is really making their park system more and more robust. That includes actually making the parks nicer, which I'm in a park right now. This is one of the older parks. Really like it. It's Devil's Glen Park. But also not only revitalizing some of their older parks, but building new parks. With all of that housing development going on, they had to make a plan to set aside some land in order to have green spaces. And a good example of that is Forest Grove Park up in North Bettendorf. It's a wonderful park, a lot of space. They have trees and all sorts of different things, playgrounds. There's a pavilion up there, so it's just a cool thing to see. But the city of Bettendorf has put a lot of focus on the parks and recs, and not only that, but the rec programs, as in the different things that you can do. There's like dancing lessons and stay-at-home mom lessons, and I don't know. There's all sorts of different things that I'm not even familiar with. But it's been a big change for the better when it comes to making Bettendorf a better place. It's not only private businesses, but it's also the city trying its best to make Bettendorf the place to be, and it's really awesome to see that. Now, this last one is a change that I have seen, and it's not really for the better, but it is something that's been happening, and that's that it's becoming harder and harder to get into Bettendorf. And the main reason is that everybody seems to be flocking to the city of Bettendorf. So prices of homes have gone up and inventory levels have decreased. So if you want to be in Bettendorf, you're gonna have to pay up because there's so much competition to get in here, and it's just the nature of the beast. And if you're one of those ones that wants to move to Bettendorf, you need somebody on your team, and that somebody could be me. I am a licensed realtor here in Bettendorf, So give me a call, send me a text. I would love to help you and your family out when it comes to making that move right here in Bettendorf, Iowa. But if you're curious, well, pros and cons of Bettendorf are right here.